Hello friends, welcome to our second doubt session. The previous doubt session was on positivism. Today's doubt session is on non-positivism. We have included these two topics separately in our lectures. This is because if you fail to understand either of these, you will find it difficult to grasp the sociological thinkers. You can say that these two concepts or schools of thought form the basis of sociology. They have laid the foundation of sociological perspective and sociological research. They have helped us understand society or social phenomena from different angles. Why do we have thinkers who opposed positivism? Why couldn't they have simply adopted the positivist methodology and studied society? Why? As we know, every theory in social science has a critique. People who see things differently or those who propose a different point of view. Non-positivists were those group of thinkers who understood that man was a thinking being with an independent will. His thoughts and will drove his actions. He interacted with people and interpreted these interactions as well as his interactions or relationships with people. He gave meanings to his interactions. He formed opinions about others. He acted because of certain motives. He was not driven to act by an external societal force as proposed by the positivists. Thus, society included meanings and motivations, opinions, and a scientific method would not help in the study of society as per non-positivists. Thus was born non-positivism. So, sociology could not be developed as a purely positivistic discipline, and because there was a human element in society which had a subjective conscience. Weber laid the foundation of interpretive approach. Interpretive means interpretation of social interactions, giving them meanings. For example, if I interact with someone, I would observe how that person is acting, and then I would interpret his or her action and what would be the guiding force. How am I going to interpret the other person's action, reaction, my relationship with that person? How am I going to understand, or what will be the guiding force which will dictate my interpretation? My guiding force will be my consciousness, my ability to think, my values. Now, these might differ from one person to another. Thus, social phenomenon has meanings, and Weber, he gave an interpretive approach, and according to him there was an internal influence which consisted of the will of a person or his or her thoughts, which affected the action of that particular person, and that particular person was known as an actor. But according to Durkheim or the positivists, there was an external influence which was the guiding force, which forced someone, coerced someone to act in a particular manner. Thus, values are said to be the guiding force according to non-positivists. They help an individual in interpreting social reality. And for example, my religion, my family, educational background, and which state I am from, my nationality, my cultural upbringing, everything is going to dictate my action. They consist of my values, and accordingly I will interpret someone's action. And after interpretation, I will construct a social reality. This social reality may differ from that of another person, so I am viewing a particular aspect of society, or a particular action of society, or a particular phenomenon of society in a particular manner, while the other person is viewing it in another perspective. So there is an angle of a colored glass, you can say. This is not objective. This is known as subjectivity. This difference in interpretation is known as subjectivity. Also, there may be an element of common sense. My common sense will guide me to behave in certain manner. So all these are going to define my interactions and my relationships. Similarly, these same factors will influence the thinking of sociologists too. After all, they are also human beings. They are also human beings with feelings, with a particular educational and family background, and certain perhaps religion, and holding some opinion. All these are going to guide his or her area of research. Therefore, Weber says that study of society cannot be value free, which the positivists say that study of society should be objective and it should be value free. But Weber says it is not possible, because value is present in social phenomenon. Also, subjectivity is there in a sociologist's perspective. There are different interpretations, and Weber uses the term value relevance to describe this subjectivity in interpretation, instead of the term value free, which is used by positivists. Now, subjectivity in sociological research also meant that universal laws could not be framed. Therefore, subjectivity would include subjectivity of the individual under study plus the one who was studying it, that is the sociologists. What does this mean? This meant that we could not use the methods used by natural sciences to study society. According to the non-positivists, we needed new methods which would allow us to study meanings, motives attached to social action, because these could not be studied by quantitative methods which were used by the positivists. So instead we needed qualitative methods. Few examples of qualitative methods are observation method, unstructured interviews, not structured, case studies, focus group discussion. This is important here, because suppose we have to find the answer to a particular question and we are using a qualitative method because we want to know the meanings and motives of a certain individual. Now here the answer would not necessarily be a yes or no. The answer would not be a single word, and the answer would not be a numerical or a data. Then what would the answer consist of? It would be descriptive. It would go into depth about the meanings, about social relationships, why someone acted in a particular manner. These all would include perhaps a paragraph to explain. Thus, qualitative methods would capture the essence of social interactions and social relationships perfectly. Few non-positivists said that we should be aware of are given below. Okay, who said or called themselves as non-positivists. They said that we are going to critique the positivism, which was the major school of thought that time, and they called themselves the non-positivists. So who were these thinkers? First one was Weber. He was an interpretivist. He laid the foundation of interpretive approach. He influenced thinkers like Schutz and Garfinkel, and they came up with phenomenology, ethnomethodology, and this tradition was taken forward by Mead, who gave the symbolic interactionist theory. Since Weber is the founder of interpretivism and the other non-positivists, they carried forward this thought. Therefore, all these thinkers are known as interpretivists. Okay. So we will be studying introductions to these non-positivist theories in our next TFT, that is tomorrow. And Weber and Mead will also be covered in detail. That means each and every theory of theirs will be studied while doing topic 4 of paper 1. Now, while the positivists used a deductive approach to study society, the non-positivists used an inductive approach. These two approaches are slightly contradictory, as you can see here. But what exactly is this difference? What is this? In a deductive approach, which was given by the positivists, a scientist starts from a theory and then he conducts experiments to confirm. Right? So he has certain knowledge of the matter and he gives a sort of hypothesis, and he knows that yes, this could be the reason. So he kind of guesses, and then he carries out certain experiments to collect data to confirm what he already knows. This is a deductive approach which the positivists were in favor of using. Okay? But in an inductive approach, what happens? Firstly, the scientist carries repeated observation. So here the observation part comes before. In deductive approach, the theory leads to observation, while in an inductive approach, the observation leads to a theory, because we need repeated observations in order to facilitate or to encourage, you can say, or make a way for understanding, to speeden the understanding of what? Meanings, motives, values, to understand the social phenomena. And then comes the theory. So you can make a small chart like this. In DA it is 2 gives to O. Here in IA, O gives to T. Okay, so theory to observation in the case of deductive approach, and observation to theory in the case of inductive approach. In the summary, we can see the differences between the positivist and the non-positivist approaches. You need to remember them. While the positivist school of thought sees social phenomena as social facts, for example, we have Durkheim. In non-positivism, we have Marx, who stressed on social action, and this carries values. The positivists think of social research as objective, where man is under the influence of some external force, external societal force. It assumes a simple cause-effect relationship to study society. But the non-positivists take into account the subjective element of sociological research. These include the values of man, his consciousness, his will. Also, this subjectivity includes the biases and prejudices of the sociologist. And the next point, while the positivists, they prefer to use quantitative methods, the anti-positivists or the non-positivists use qualitative methods for social research, to study society. The positivists believed in general universal laws which govern society, but the non-positivists, they do not see any universalism possible. They see social reality in a particular context. So, for positivists, sociological research is value-free, but for non-positivists, the interpretation of values was necessary to establish an understanding of social action. Interpretation of values. Hence the term value relevant. Here this interpretation was not required. Social action or action depends on the actors' goals, expectations, values, and it involves meanings. The last point, in positivism, what happens? That they assume that the individual is a part of society and he or she is under external force, governed under some force. But by the non-positivists, what they thought, that man was an independent thinking being and therefore he or she had a separate way of seeing things, of interpreting things. This was different. This brings us to the end of today's doubt session. We hope that these 2 doubt sessions have helped you, and tomorrow we will share the next TFT, which will be on non-positivist methods. So please revise these 2 doubt sessions, and all the best.